Yeah, it's good to see a lot of familiar faces. I hope everybody can hear me. Hope everybody's happy and healthy. So Jim, Karen, am I coming through clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Loud and clear.
Okay, good. All right. So let me just go through an overview of HB 35 as just mentioned, but we've had a handful of presentations, Zoom and live over the last several months. So I'm not going to go into great detail on the bill because most of you are already very familiar with it. But as you know, it has basically three components. The first is expanding the type of publications that qualify. You know, currently, before the law was passed, it's effective, by the way, January 1st. There was a for sale to Journal Republic requirement that was taken out. And there was also the periodicals matter permit requirement. The bill either removes or phases out the requirements and allows for the legal notices to be published in some of the smaller publications that are free to the public if certain audience thresholds and other requirements are met. And then the second component, as you've read about and heard, the governmental agencies can choose to publish certain governmental agency notices solely on newspaper websites if they go through a certain procedure. And the final component is there's a tracking requirement for FPA to be following these new notice provisions, which the bill sponsor put in there to see how the bill is reacting to the public. So the component one, as you've heard, a newspaper can qualify to run legal ads if it has an auditor certified audience, which reflects the print circulation and the online monthly visitors of at least 10% of the households in the county or the city. And there's a 25% of the print copies delivery requirement, and also an availability at 10 outlet requirement. So there is a caveat, however, if the paper holds a periodicals permit, the paper is exempt from the audience and the 10 outlet requirements for 2 years. That's the January 1st, 2024. And after that time, those requirements must be met. And finally, for those fiscally constrained rural counties, we made an effort to carve them out so that they are exempt from these thresholds in perpetuity, basically, as long as they have and keep their periodicals permit up to date. And here are your physically constrained counties, as you might imagine, in orange in the various areas of the state.
Hey, Sam, you're still on the first. I can only see the first panel for your PowerPoint. Okay.
Can you see them now?
Yep, I can see.
How about that? Yeah, because okay, I'm going to keep it in this format. When I do the slideshow, it must not allow me to move through the slides. So I'm just going to keep it smaller, and that's fine. So.
Stop.
Okay.
Okay, and so then we have the auditor certified audience number. This must be the 10% household audience criteria must be certified biennially every 2 years by the auditor. So under the bill, the auditor becomes quite, and the audit becomes quite important as the periodicals permit has been in the past. There are several auditors. We have a kind of a general price range, and they will be working with the digital measurement partners, Google Analytics, Adobe Analytics. There are examples of those. Jim, any comments on the auditors? And
hey, Sam, I'll just make a note that there's 3 auditors. CVC seems to be the most popular throughout the state of Florida. I think there's 92 of our members using CVC. They have something pretty cool that they offer. They do 4 market studies a year each quarter. So, you could take that information that they're gathering from your readers to help offset the cost of the annual audit, which is kind of cool because you could do purchase intent. How many folks are looking to purchase a car in the next 30, 60, 90 days, and you can use that information to go sell auto dealers. They do that quite effectively. So a lot of folks, are leaning to the CVC folks to help. They're also creating a page 2 to their audit that will show a certification that you've reached the threshold. that you could use to upload. I think that's also a pretty cool feature that they're offering members. And then on the digital measurement, folks are using Google Analytics, and they can help you with that as well.
Sam, we do have a question in the chat about auditor statements. When do those need to be included in the publication, in paper, and on the web? Right now or beginning in 2024?
Yeah, if you're going to rely on the audience thresholds from the auditors, the continual publication requirement, which I'm just about to address, it would need to be as of the effective date of the bill. If you're relying on audience thresholds, you need to have your publication of the audit information included. So what's required by the bill? You need to continually publish in a prominent manner information related to certified audience, or if applicable, your periodicals permit. And there in paragraph 1, the first bullet point, you've got the information that needs to be there. Or if if you're relying on an auditor, and if not, then your periodicals permit. That must be published in the first 5 pages of the print edition, on the bottom portion of the homepage of the newspaper's website. We have a form that we've come up with.
Hey, Sam.
Yep.
I just want to there's a couple of questions in the chat that I think we just really, where you're at right now, I think we just need to address so we're all on the same page. One is, someone's asking about, if you have a periodical permit right now, you're right, you don't have to do anything for 2 years, right? You're covered. So whatever you're doing right now, you're fine. If you're in a physically constrained county, you're fine indefinitely, right? You're good. And Sam gave you the 29 counties. Now, Margie, I'm not sure what you're asking, but at the West, at the Beacon, you're not dealing with auditors. Does that mean you have a periodical permit? If you do, then you're good on that front. Every issue.
Yeah. So if you're, the whole idea of the bill was to preserve where everyone's at for some period of time if you have a permit.
Yeah.
So you have that 2-year runway to try to get your audience in order to meet that after that expires. If you're in a rural county where print is more relied upon, it's more important, and the periodicals permit is more important, that's carved out from the bill, and that if you have your periodicals permit, you won't be affected by the bill. You won't have to meet those thresholds.
Now, for the folks that are being audited by CVC or AAM, that audit, that certification, you will have that. You will have a PDF of that, and then you'll have to link that to a verification button that will be on the bottom of your website, and we'll show you that.
Yeah, what's some of the papers are planning to do, and what we've helped with our force group to come up with, is where you can use a link or a QR code to link to this information, and there's a statement of ownership, for example, requirement, and then there is a if you have a periodicals permit, what I understand is there's really no such thing as a periodicals permit that you would be able to get an image of by PDF or whatever. So you could, instead of having the permit image, you could link to the number and then have a statement that you have this permit, and maybe you have a short certification. If you look at our best practices, there's a page that we've written on how you might approach publishing this. But that's just a form that we've come up with that you might follow, and some plan to do so. The bill badge there at the right-hand corner, this again was Sandpaper Marketing's help to come up with something that the public would be familiar with as we move into the bill timeline, and like equal housing badge that you see in some advertisements. The same sort of notice, a badge logo would be helpful for folks to immediately recognize what they're looking at.
And we got another question on the alerts and search widget, and yes, they are available, and they should be in the resource piece of the of that link that I gave you guys.
Okay, so moving on from the audience, the new audience threshold for papers, we have, of course, this is the newspaper website only option that governmental agencies can choose to use for this limited universe of notices, which are the 18 local government notices ranging from millage rates, delinquent taxes, to water management district notice. It's just a whole haphazard list of different notices. I don't think there's any rhyme or reason why they're there, but they're all governmental agency notices. And county ordinances, city ordinances, notices that are published. Those are the sorts of things that a local government can vote to use if they meet a certain fact finding on broadband availability, and I would assume they would have to have that on their agenda, and you would wanting to be looking for that through your reporters, and also through a print notice that they have to run, which I'll talk about in a second. But the local papers should be looking for their local counties and cities in particular, having a meeting to discuss and decide whether to use this option, because then they would then be coming to you to run those online only ads, and you would have some notice to do that. That would be more captured on a local basis than through Tallahassee. And yeah, that there's a requirement that there be a separate print notice published once a week, and it's just an info notice. It doesn't have anything to do with the substantive notice. It just tells the public where these types of notices are going to be, in addition to the the online only, that they'll be in our uploaded, the Florida Public Notices site in aggregate form. And so that's just an additional requirement under the bill. There are others that I've mentioned somewhat, but there's a few more where they have to be placed. There's a disclaimer requirement. I have another best practice memo on this. So again, as Jim mentioned, you can go to our resource page, and I think there's 4 or 5 best practices. One of these, 2 of these are the best of the newspaper only, website only issue, because we've got, I think, more questions on that than any others. We're trying to we're working with the cities, we're trying to work with the counties, associations, to clear up any misconceptions about what needs to be used as the internet only platform, and that is a qualified newspaper website. I think there may be some confusion initially on that. You can't use just a local blogger's site and just slap it on that. That's not what the bill is intended to do. It's for qualified newspaper websites only, and you can charge the same rate as you can charge on print on your print notices. That'll be, you can charge up to that amount, or you can charge, if you so choose, less than that amount. That's how the pricing goes on that.
And we had a question, do we need to run an ad if we don't have any online only notices? And I think the answer there is no. If you don't have any online only notices, you don't need to alert the readers that you have online only notices. So that is no. So if you do get the online notices only, then you're going to have to run that ad notifying readers, and the government needs to pay for that ad.
Right. Okay, so anyway, those are the 2 major components of the bill. The third relates to what our obligations are to capture the information, to show the sponsor, other legislators, and the public how things are moving and changing in Florida based on the change. And so what Jim's going to talk about, but I'll just basically summarize, overarching requirement is we're showing the usage of our aggregate website, the traffic. Secondly, we're trying to identify what all the newspapers are using as the criteria. Are they using that audience threshold criteria? Are they using that 2-year grandfather? And finally, are they using in rural counties that rural exemption? And then finally, that newspaper website only option, is that being utilized? And what we're doing is, and this has probably been our biggest challenge throughout the last several months, with the great help of our task force members and column, is to have a dashboard that captures the information. And then what we're going to do is we'll wrap that up into a quarterly report, which is what the law requires. And we'll make it into a PDF report at the end of this quarter, probably in end of April or May. And that'll capture the information that we have in the dashboard. So I'm going to turn it now over to Jim, and he's going to talk about the dashboards.
Sam, this is Jim Gavelis. Can I ask one question before you move on?
Sure.
Once a government body votes for online publication, can they then choose to run some of the public notices in print and others online?
I think that's a really good question. I haven't gotten that one before. I think they probably could mix and match. They could probably vote to say, okay, we're going to do our millage rates for notices, for example, just online only. I don't think there's anything in there that says they have to use, if they vote, they have to do it for all their notices.
The nature of my question is, let's say you're a weekly newspaper and your publication date doesn't work for some types of the notices, the day of the week publication. Could you qualify by posting the public notices on the website on the days that do work for the government body?
Yeah, I think they could split it up if that works for them, because it's going to be the idea is that this will be reflect some cost savings, and so I would think that would work for them. And the notice is going to the citizens that look at those notices. I think they could probably do that. I don't.
Okay.
know. Yeah.
And one last question about that. The vote to allow the government body to use online publication, that only has to be done once, correct?
Yes, I mean that the bill only says one vote to use that option. I suppose they could subdivide the vote into different notices and say, okay, for these types of notices, and then perhaps maybe a year later they're having such a great time with the online option, they could expand it to other notices. I think they probably have the flexibility to do that. Okay. I think it would be easier just to do all the notices under their notices, but it may very well be that they decide to do that, because the notices are different. I mean, a county and a city ordinance notice is different from a delinquent tax notice, and so maybe it makes more sense to run the delinquent tax notices online only in one publication, run them online only in another publication that relates to the ordinances.
All good questions, though. Thank you, Jim.
But
hey, Sam, I got a question from Phil. For the papers that have permits, do we need to inform FPA of our status so that FPA records or records reflect such? So that is a great question, because it's teeing up this next portion. It's gang, it's where you guys come in. So this is the bill sponsor wrote into the bill that he wants to be able to track what we're doing, and it was brilliant on his behalf, because we are now going to have to track these 3 areas that Sam mentioned. So I'm going to go to the first one. I'm going to answer Phil's question. I hope everybody can hear me, because this is going to be critical. Every quarter, gang, you're going to get a push notification from us through column that's going to ask 3 simple questions, and the person on the other end needs to verify one of these 3, right? So the first one is whether you're new to the game and you've been audited and you meet the threshold, you'll click the first one. The second one says that you have a periodical permit and you've always had a periodical permit and you're grandfathered into 2024. And then the third one is that you are also grandfathered in, you have the periodical permit, and you fall into one of those 29 fiscally constrained counties. From this form, which we need filled out every quarter, it will roll into this dashboard, and this dashboard will show whether that newspaper is compliant or not and replied. The key to this dashboard is that pie chart to the right, because the bill sponsor is going to be looking at how the landscape's changing, how many new folks are now playing in the public notice field. Because if it's all about providing adequate notice and we're opening up the free market, This chart is very, very important to the bill sponsor and how how the pie pieces change. So this is the first dashboard, and I'm happy to answer any questions on those two pieces. Someone earlier asked about getting audited and when do you need the audit by. You know, obviously the switch flips January 1, 2022. We're going to ask for that information in Q1. So at the end of Q1, you'll need to be buttoned up on the audit front. On the second dashboard, Sam, if you can flip over. So this now will give the bill sponsor a snapshot on internet only, how many counties or municipalities are getting or placing internet only ads online. And then he's also asking for the total universe, which is all print and online, which is your first chart. And then the second chart is internet only. This is just a demo. These aren't real numbers, but this is exactly what that dashboard is going to look like. And the bill sponsor is going to be lasered in on this number growing, which is the internet only publication. And then Sam, the third, yep. So, and then this third dashboard is going to show our own website traffic to the floridapublicnotice.com site. Once again, we're getting between 30,000 and 70,000 unique visitors per month. This will show the growth on our own website, and the bill sponsor wanted us to measure this as well. Any questions on the three dashboards? And once again, hats off to our partners at Column. They've done a great job working with us. The tech task force helped us with this, and we're in really good shape. We met with the bill sponsor, and we've exceeded his expectations on these quarterly, I'll call them dashboards, reports that he'll be looking at on a quarterly basis.
Okay, so as we've mentioned, over the last several months, we've been doing outreach and working on tech issues, and a couple of teams have been really awesome in coming forward to help us work through these issues on a marketing and communication team. And we've been meeting every other week with an array of members. So shout out to y'all. Thank you so much. Great information we've been exchanging on those meetings to come up with issues ahead of time before the bill hit. And then of course, San Pedro Marketing, we've got several communications and written materials on our website. We've got some Q&As. I would really recommend you to look at those Q&As if you have questions. I've tried to assemble all the ones that I've gotten thus far. I think we've had 40 or 50 at this point. We've got some creative handouts for you to educate your governmental clients if you're getting questions for your staff to use. And we even have newspaper templates for use by newspapers to use with your clients and the public. And then as I mentioned, we've got your best practices that I have on 5 or so issues that have where there's some gray areas in the bill that may help you. So this is what they look like. Very nice, colorful, available to use with respect to the Q&As, mainly for our members. These are the handouts I mentioned where you might be interfacing with your local government officials, and it sets out in a schematic what their criteria is for both the components that we've discussed, and it even takes there's these clickable links that direct you to the actual language in the bill, so that you have that 25% of the words in the English language. That's been around forever, but anyway, that's what the example is here, and there it is right there in the bill. Here are the newsletters that you can convert if you so wish to use as marketing tool to get the word out. These were intended mainly for before the effective date, but they're still there to be used if you so choose. And then the best practice memos relating to that continual publication requirement that we talked about, and then some of the issues on newspaper website only. There's one on what is your checklist for when you want to post the digital ads in Florida and Florida law? Not just the new law, but the law that's been in effect since 2012. What is the laundry list of requirements? And I kind of went through it and just it's a checklist for you to use if you find it helpful. And then finally, the aggregation that Jim talked about in the quarterly reports, some of the questions that we've received on that. And of course, shout out again to Column, our new FPA vendor. They're doing the management on the aggregate site, and there's going to be continue for the public to have free access and allow our members to seamlessly upload to the aggregate site with customer service available.
Hey, Sam, I want to give them once again a big plug, man. They've been an amazing partner of ours, and I'm telling everybody on this call, no one's coming close to our modernized site throughout the nation, and we're working with them. We're going to be growing our site. We're going to be growing our capabilities. We're going to have a bilingual toggle switch. We're going to have so many new features, including mapping. These folks are all over it. And in the spirit of upgrading your technology, they're a good partner. And if you guys are in need of a partner like them to upgrade your public notice site at no cost to you, they're all yours. They're happy to help. Alex is on this call, and you can feel free to reach out to him directly.
So that's kind of my update. Jim's chime in at this point. Yeah, just feel free to call me. I'm as you know, I'm always easily reached. If you have a question that pops up, you can email me or call me. And so keep those lines of communications open. I hope you have a good experience with the new law, and that it's something that's going to be allow newspapers to remain in the legal notice game, but also keep citizens, with a robust method for their public notices. That was the whole idea of the bill, and to keep them basically, quite frankly, keep the notices off the government agency websites, which would have been a horrible thing for the public, and that was where it was going up until last month at session.
Hey, Sam.
So, yeah.
We got a question from Thomas G on the newsletters. So those newsletters are for you to use to public face. So feel free to customize them, put your logo on them. You are the market experts. Use that language to tell the story of the changes. Yes, those are for your publications, members of ours, to use to help educate your county clerks and folks in the marketplace of the new law. So yes, the Q&As though are more or less casted for internally use for you to use with your legal folks that are taking the legal notices, just so they have a better understanding of the bill. There is a talk track that you can send out. That it's called Government Agency Talk Track that you could send out, and that also has references to the bill that you'll want to use. And there's also an internal one for you to use with your team internally, and that also gives you references to the bill that Sam mentioned earlier. All these things are really they have infographics. They're easy on the eyes. They're easy to explain, and that's why we built this marketing task force to help us, get all these questions answered and get that information into our members' hands. So hopefully that answers that question. Okay, you're welcome. All right, Sam, next up.
Okay, so that's kind of concludes my, I would like to make a plug on our Public Notice Day, which is coming right up on February 3rd. We'd love to have you in Tallahassee telling our story. We're going to keep, as Jim always says, the pedal to the metal, right, Jim? Yep. And keep that forward facing. And what we'll do is we'll have, we'll fan out and meet with our legislators and the staff, and we'll have, we'll have a luncheon. We have the sponsor, Senate sponsor, Rodriguez. He's going to actually be there to talk to our group. So it's fun time, get legal, all that stuff to come together on February 3rd. This is our 4th annual Public Notice Day.
Hey, Sam, just another add-on to that. And Karen, jump in if I misspeak, but it's really key for us moving forward that we educate our young, new legislators, we'll call them freshmen coming into office, that really don't know us that well. They need to hear our story. They need to know why we do what we do. And we're really going to lean forward this public notice day. We're really going to start on the 2nd. That night, we're going to have a cocktails and conversation with new legislators. We're going to meet up with them and tell our story. And as Sam mentioned, the next day, we're going to have a luncheon. Our bill sponsor, Senator Rodriguez, is going to be there talking about, you know, the bill and why he supported us. And he's going to talk a little bit about what's on his agenda. And then we're going to take the Hill, and we're welcoming everybody in this call to join us. And if you can't join us, we'd love for you to pick up the phone, set up a Zoom call. We're happy to help you with Zoom meetings and set those up, because it's so important today that we give our legislators access to us, because they feel like they don't, and we're always against them or writing, you know, bad stories about them, and they just don't understand our purpose and why we do what we do. And we got to do a better job telling that story, especially the younger legislators. So I can't bang that drum hard enough, but we're going to need everybody's help on this call to help build those relationships with local leadership. And it's up to you, because you guys can help build those relationships. And when we go up against these bills, you know, we have relationships with these folks. We can have conversations with them versus them looking at the bill and saying, newspapers, they're bad, I'm going to vote against them. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox, but thank you in advance for everybody's help.
Yeah, we'll have some resources for you too. We'll have a 5x7 card and talking points like we've always had in the past. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely load your guns. Like Sam mentioned, we're going to create some, you know, some campaigns and some paraphernalia you can hand out. And if you folks know anybody that want to help tell a story, like give a testimonial, a county clerk, a reader that wants to talk about public notice and how it helped them, you know, understand like something was being developed in their backyard that shouldn't have happened, but because of our job and providing public notice, they were able to, you know, go to the hearings and put the brakes on these things. We would love to hear that, because we'll make those testimonials and we can all share them and use them to help tell our story.
And one other thing is what I would really appreciate from you all, if you have time, if you see these website only, newspaper website only notices going into effect in your local counties, cities, districts, water management districts, if you could just shoot me a quick email saying, hey, you know, heard by the grapevine, or I know that we're going to be, we voted on that, or we're going to be meeting to vote on that, that'd be great help.
All right, Sam, at this time, let's open it up. Anybody, what's burning on your minds? Any other questions we didn't answer? We'd love to hear them. Now be a great time. Feel free to open up your mic.
Hi, this is Kristen with the Business Observer. I wasn't sure if you touched on this in terms of if you are using your audit information and not your periodicals permit, and in print and online, where do you put your unique visitors number? Where does that appear? Because it's not on our physical audit.
So yeah, that was a question Kristen had asked me. I think the law makes it clear, as Kristen and I briefly talked about, it needs to be in there somewhere, but any comments?
So Sam, I don't know if Tim Binghamton is on the call. He's from CVC. Is Tim on the call? Does anybody see if Tim's on here?
No, but
So,
I think Jim Kennedy's on.
Yeah, I'm on.
Hey, Jim.
Yep.
As part of your audit, the CVC audit, that last verification page, were you including the digital number as well to get to a total audience reach?
If they provided that data through the audit process, and that's one thing that we're kind of training some of the members on, that as they're coming on board, traditionally we've looked at website uniques through Google Analytics and the such. One thing that we're asking everybody now is the analytics that also comes in via geography, because that's the important part that we're going to use to show the uniques just based in the state of Florida compared to what might be outliers in other areas.
So Jim, thank you for jumping in. And Kristen, to answer your question, so if you have the periodical permit, you don't have to worry about that, right? Because you're going to have the verification, you'll have your periodical permit number, and that will suffice. It will bring you to your statement of ownership and you're covered. If you are a new weekly or a weekly or after 2 years, you're going to go to an audit situation. What Jim Kennedy just mentioned was at the end of their audit, where the verification is to get you to the 10%, they're asking the newspaper to provide their Google Analytics to them. They will roll that up into their report. So you'll have, like, on one sheet, you'll have it all outlined as far as your digital reach and your print reach and your combined reach. And that will be I'll call it the verification page that you'll be able to upload.
Understood. Thank you.
You got it. Thank you, Jim.
Good question, Christian.
Yeah, great question. Great question.
If I could piggyback off of that question,
Who's speaking?
this is Jamie Limoges with Lake Okeechobee News.
Okay.
And,
Hey,
and
Jamie.
while we'll continue to be grandfathered for a while, I'm thinking ahead to possible changes. If a county were to go with the online only option, what is the impact to the affidavit? Because all of our affidavits, are made for print. And is it just as simple as changing the publication name?
Yeah. Okay. So we've had some discussions about that.
Yeah.
And there would have to be some tinkering with the affidavit form and with the as the bill is written. I think the way we decided is we would take out some of the references to the print dates, because that obviously doesn't apply. And I do have language for your affidavit. If I probably should make that into a new best practice. Maybe I'll do that. Let me just add that as a best practice on how to do the affidavit. It's just a slight tinkering with it, but it's a very good question. And frankly, that's been raised a couple of times. So I'll put that language up on our site so you can have that.
Jamie, does that answer your question? Jamie?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Jim, what was that for multiple counties? I missed that little piece of it.
Yeah, no, Jeff, she asked the same question we've been going round and round a little bit on our tech meeting, and that is the digital affidavit, right? And how it's going to differ from print. And we're going to change the language just slightly so it covers a period of time, but it talks about digital only versus the print verification. It's the affidavit.
You're going to change the language that you currently have as best practice?
No, we're going to use the same. We're going to use the same language we talked about, Jeff. Yeah.
The and/or?
Yeah. She
Yeah,
just wasn't aware of that. So lots of people haven't been on those.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good. Please. We've already put that in motion.
Yeah. So Jeff, I think why don't I just put that on our site so everybody has it?
Yep, that's a good idea. So Jamie, that will be on our resource site. You'll be able to download that.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Good question.
I have a question.
Who's speaking?
This is Marie with the Beaches Leader newspaper.
Hi, Marie.
Hi. I'm kind of new to figuring this out. So we use a periodical permit in order to publish. So this will grandfather us in to 2024.
Yep.
The little disclaimer box, for better lack of a word, disclaimer box that you show with the auditor information and everything, do we need to change ours to reflect that format? So that is that something we should go ahead and make the change to, even though it's statement of ownership and our periodical permit?
Yeah, no, I think if all you have is periodical, if you're relying on periodical permit, all you need to do is just reference your permit, and you can do that by just the number, including the permit number, and then maybe some simple statement that you have the permit. Because what I understand is you can't do an image of the permit because there is no permit, but you can do the number. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but we already do that type of box in our publisher's box.
Yep.
On like page 2 or 3, that has all that information that we're required to have. So I don't need to change any of that for the wording for this.
I don't believe you do. We'd love for you to add that little verification badge on there, because the bill sponsor has seen that and he'll be looking for that. And we would appreciate you putting that in your info box. we're also going to ask you to add that to the homepage of your website, way at the bottom. The Observer Media Group currently has it running right now, and it gives just the verification, I'll call it ad bug or that the icon, and then it has their periodical permit number right next to it, showing that that's how they're verified.
Okay.
Yeah, the
That's-
idea.
Is that little badge, the Florida
Yeah.
Public Notices badge? Is that what you're referring to? Okay. Is that also a widget? I mean, I thought we had a widget on our website that used to go to Florida Public Notices. I don't know if that changed since we moved to column or if that's not available anymore.
So real quick, two things. They're different things. The verification, the verification widget is verifying that you have a periodical permit, and that's going to show the bill sponsor that you have the periodical permit number, and that's your umbrella is you're under that law for the next 2 years that you mentioned. The widgets that we keep talking about are the search widget and email alert widget, right? And we have new widgets from Column that will bring you to our site. So if you do not have a search feature on your website and you do not have a email notification feature on your site, then you would download those widgets, the new widgets, and you would put them on your website under the public notice umbrella, and then those features will drive folks to our site to get those alerts and the search feature.
Hey, Jim?
Yes.
The FP columns also, they have the direct URL now for anybody that just wants to link right to the email alert sign up rather than hit your search page and then go to your widget.
Perfect. Yep. So we can get you that as well. I mean, that's really the best way to go for the email alerts.
Okay. I think what we currently do is we upload our legal notices ourselves onto our website, and then we go to Column and upload them there separately. So I'm not sure if there is a connection between the two of them or not. I have to check with our tech support to see where that was doing, because I know I personally upload them both in 2 different spots.
Okay.
So I have to check and see.
Yeah, if you could check and see, but what we're talking though is on the back end on your site to get folks over to our site, because you don't have these features that are in the bill. You'll need these widgets on your site that will bring folks from your site to our site, so you'll be compliant with the search feature and you're compliant with the email alerts.
Okay. Okay.
But those widgets are available, and right now the Column team is working on combining 2 of them, so you don't have 2 separate ones. You can have one of them if you need both.
Okay.
Yep.
And where would I find those again on your on the resource site on FPA?
I believe if you look in our chat, Alex posted the link to where you can get those right now on the chat feature on the Zoom call under Alex. Okay. Thank you, Alex, for doing that.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yep. No, great questions.
Yep.
Oops.
Next. Anybody on the call having any issues uploading their public notices to the aggregated site? I know someone just mentioned, obviously, it's a 2-step process for them. The folks that have the enterprise product, it's not a 2-step process. It's integrated, so it happens seamlessly. But I know there were some issues early out, but I believe we solved all those issues. I just wanted to make sure that everyone is uploading smoothly to the site.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, good to hear. Are we clear on the quarterly push that's going to come out? We're going to call it the check-in. All we need you to do is, check one of those boxes and get it back to us. It seems pretty simple, right? Any questions on that?
Hey, Jim, this is Angie Campbell from the Daily Record in Jacksonville.
Hey, Angie.
Hey, I'm good on the verification part, but part of the dashboard that I did have a question on is the notice type. Is it daily when we're uploading that we are notifying you all how many of those are print and online and how many are online only? Or do we have to track that and report that to you on a monthly or quarterly basis?
That's a good question. So I believe based on how we're tagging, it should be automatic. I think Annie's on the call from Column. Annie, would you mind jumping in the pool?
Yeah, that's a great question. So depending on how you are uploading notices to the statewide site, you will be able to tag those automatically, as Jem mentioned. So if you're uploading through the FTP feed, there's an FTP tag that you will add to determine whether it's, or to denote whether it's digital only or print and digital. And then if you are manually uploading those through the Column portal, there's also a place to select that. And then as an alternative, if those options don't work for you for whatever reason, you can manually keep track of those and report them to the FPA and us at the end of the quarter. But we do have an automated way of doing it for you.
Perfect, perfect. We will FTP tag them. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Great question. And I think we're going to have more of these questions come Jan 1, and that's okay. Sam and I and the Column team are here to help. You know, I do believe we're going to have a couple of quarters to, you know, to really hone in and polish what we're doing. But I think once, you know, half the year goes by, man, it's really going to be game on for us to make sure that everything is accurate and right. So I know there'll be a little hand holding in the beginning, you know, with folks, but I'm confident by at least first quarter, we should be all buttoned up and we'll be able to give some really good reports to our bill sponsor. All right. Anything else for the good of the order? Okay, gang, I want to give a special thank you to our public notice task force teams. You've heard a few of them speak up during our call. Boy, I'll tell you, without them, they did a lot of testing. They helped us out to get to where we are today. Can't thank them enough. And a lot of them are on this call, as I mentioned. Our partners I mentioned earlier, including Column, Sandpaper Marketing, Barker Strategic Solutions. Thank you for all your efforts. We hope you found value in our public notice session today. We're always looking for suggestions to improve what we do. Let Karen and I know. If you need any help with your public notice day Zoom calls for February 3rd, please let us know. We're happy to help you set them up. Thank you again for joining us. And we at FPA would like to take this opportunity to wish you and your families a wonderful holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you. Same to you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Jim.